All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I believe that for many, many years, we have all questioned our reality, searching for a hidden truth. Our origins, creation, evolution, the inner earth, the cosmos, the afterlife. Are we alone in the universe? Is there a universe? You see, we speculate, investigate, then validate, sometimes to no end. My friends, all that is going to soon come to an end. You see, God is not subtle in his demonstration of power. There are many ancient texts. People tend to look at the Bible as a religious text. Stop doing that. It is a message. Over the years, that message has been distorted in various ways. However, the message itself remains intact. It is a message of spiritual preparation. All those books are intended to educate, guide, and prepare your spirit for what's coming at the end. Because what's coming is going to come, whether we like it or not. And nobody is going to escape this. This is how God does things, on a mass scale so everyone can see. That's what a revelation is, a reveal. You're waiting for the government to disclose the truth. God's going to do that. And once everyone can clearly see, all those people who are on the fence about space and the earth and what's on it, in it, and around it, your questions will be answered. You think God expects everyone to have a telescope? Doesn't work that way. So he's going to make sure everyone has a front row seat. Speaking of which, a photo was taken recently. Well, several photos. You may have heard of a massive object in the skies of Alaska. You know, what people are going to be seeing may not be understood at first, but they certainly will start believing. So there are a few things here, and it's really difficult to craft this information in such a way that it can be understood a bit easier. And it's really not that complex, it's just going to be a bit difficult for some people to wrap their head around, because it's going to sound so unbelievable, your head is going to have a hard time accepting such a thing. Now, what if I told you all that right now there is a planet in the sky? Your response would probably be, well, what do you mean there's a planet in the sky? Well, what if I told you that there is a planet in the sky that is close enough that it appears as the size of the moon or greater, but you can't see it, only at certain latitudes? Remember, when you walk outside your door, you're not seeing half the sky. You're not seeing a quarter of the sky. Oh, but the stars are way out there. And a lot of the sky you can't see because the earth is in the way. Now, I heard one interesting theory that suggests that someone has been using chemtrailing as a method to add glare to the sky so that objects like these would be virtually invisible. Think about the new moon. You can barely see it at times, but the moon is still there, right? Think about how the moon looks during the day. Even though it's reflecting all that light on us, the sun still overpowers it to the point where the moon looks almost translucent. Now, you take a planetoid object the size of the moon or a bit bigger, with a surface that's less reflective and an atmosphere that absorbs more light. You are not going to be able to see that, especially at night, because you are no longer facing the sun. And remember, this object is viewed close to the sun, okay? Now, you're probably thinking, well, I should be able to see it when the sun is high in the sky, since the object is close to us, right? Wrong. You need to be at least a certain latitude and angle at the right time of day just to get a temporary glimpse of the object. But we're talking about an object that takes up a good quarter of the sky when visible. Now, I think that would freak someone out, right? So let me get to what happened here. Actually, first, this is not new news, okay? This has been something that has been circulating for a few years now, and that is objects being spotted on the FAA Alaskan weather camera. Like some sci-fi movie, right? Now, do I believe these photos are authentic? Well, I think we've all seen lens flares before, and I feel that we've moved on past the Planet X hoax images. I do know that it also takes a certain camera to get that exposure. I don't think just any camera would pick that up. I think an updated smartphone camera could in the right conditions, if you know how to calibrate it. The Federal Aviation Administration has these cameras, weather cameras. And the FAA is the body of the government which regulates all of civil aviation for the entire country and surrounding international waters. These cameras, there's about 230 of these cameras. And you know, they put them up to help pilots determine when it's safe to fly. Of course. I mean, these are aviation weather cameras. That's self-explanatory. But here's the thing. They had about 100 of these cameras installed by 2009. Then another 50 by 2011. Then they got up to about 230 cameras by 2016. Consider this timeline, folks. Now, I don't know how hard it is to put up a camera installation like that, but we're talking about $250,000 for around a dozen cameras. It's a bit pricey, but it's not millions, right? It's a good idea, and something like that is supposed to help pilots become better pilots, right? Now, you would think that within the span of over a decade, they would have these cameras up all over the place. Guess where all these cameras are? They're all over Alaska, all over Canada, and a few in Colorado. I'll say that again. These cameras that are supposed to help pilots not fly in bad weather with 200 plus passengers on board, these cameras are all over Alaska, all over Canada, and there are a few in Colorado. In the mountains, of course. Why? Because the rest of the nation, the other 48 states, they don't get bad weather. It must be the reason, right? Actually, Colorado just made the agreement with the FAA to do that this year. Now, I'm not saying that these cameras or even some of these cameras were put in place specifically to monitor an object in space. Let's go slow. We don't know for sure what was imaged in those photos. I've been through many of these cameras, and I think most of the cameras in Alaska and some in the Northwest Territories. Some of the shots are beautiful, by the way, but the cameras, they do turn up dozens of lens flares. Sometimes the lenses are dirty, sometimes there's too much exposure with the sun in the shot, so it's extremely difficult to see a planet that may only be visible for a short period of time on a certain day. because of the light sources hitting it just right for us to see here on the surface. Are you with me so far? And every once in a while, you may see what appears to be something strange, but it's just not quite clear enough, so ultimately it's dismissed. From what I understand, Universal News Media, a YouTube channel, has some information on these cameras. Now, a few videos ago, I briefly discussed the movement of the sun and the planets, and I described a second sun scenario. You know, a dwarf twin to our sun that most likely has planets of its own revolving around it. And if so, who knows how many of these planetoids are revolving around it, and if one or two or three of them happen to swing through or by our solar system, then with all things considered, that would make a lot of sense. That would explain all these happenings to our planet. And I'm being serious. If this is something that is real, you most definitely know that everything that has been happening to the planet is because of this. It's not chemtrails, it's not HAARP, it's not CERN. Yeah, they have some pretty crazy experiments going on, folks. You have no idea. There are some true real-life mad scientists out there. That's not a joke. They can do all types of things with these machines that affect the Earth. But that is not the cause of these Earth changes. One of the things you have to get out of your head right now is that the Earth is small. No, the Earth is freaking big. We only live on a small chunk of the Earth altogether. Over half the planet is covered in water, by the way. Who's out there? What I'm saying is, wherever you are not seeing everything up there. If you have a binary star system, and one star has its planets and the other star has its planets, as these two stars get close enough to where one can feed off of the other, remember, I talked about vampire stars. If they get that close to each other, what's happening with their planets? Do the paths of the outer planets start to merge or cross paths? And if that's the case, these planets from the other star would swing by every once in a while. And we really don't know how fast or how slow. It's an unpredictable scenario and an equation that I think they are desperately trying to solve. A revelation. I think it's a great reveal because no one is telling us what's going on. We get the blame. Oh, carbon dioxide. Oh no. That's not an explanation. It's a deception is what it is. All these things are occurring and no one is telling us why. Heat keeps going up. Moisture keeps going up. Hurricanes, double hurricanes, melting permafrost, melting ice. Antarctica is melting. Ancient superbugs are popping up in various places. Tornadoes, volcanoes, earthquakes. So many earthquakes. Lightning strikes are becoming more intense. They have to start coming up with new names to describe them. They're so powerful. Animal die-offs, insect migrations, chemical and radioactive explosions. That can be affected by outside radioactive particles, by the way. Asteroids, meteors, fireballs. We have outbreaks left and right, worldwide, baby. People protesting and rioting in the streets. Racism is getting pumped up. People are blowing stuff up in the deserts overseas. Fires in Cali. Dust storms blowing overseas from Africa. We have major discord in our governments. Spiritual attacks. My goodness, the spiritual attacks that are occurring right now on people and their families. I mean, man. So, we have still quite a bit to discuss. And we will. Just stay tuned. Until next time, folks, as always, I'm so grateful for all you tuning in. Everyone stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon.